Pharisees and Sadducees came up and testing Jesus. They asked him to show them a sign from heaven, but he replied to them, "When it is evening, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. In the morning there will be a storm today, for the sky is red and threatening. Do you know how to discern the appearance of the sky, but it cannot discern the signs of the times? Evil and adulterous generation seeks after a sign. The sign will not be given it except the sign of Jonah." And he left him and went away. I think we kind of talked about this last week, about this signs. But there's lots of people today who are looking for signs for this. And Lord, give me a sign to do this, a sign to do something else. And a lot of people today believe in astrology, not astronomy, but astrology. I read my horoscope nearly every day. I just don't think how funny it is that what has got written down for me, and it never happens. That's what. But some people really take a lot of stock in that. And of course, they look for a sign. Now the really old timers used to go by the farmer's almanac, and they looked for different signs to plant, when to plant their corn, when to dehorn cattle, when to wean calves.
Your mama watched
My
that.
mama watched it. My grandpa, mine and Phil's grandpa, they said it was really, really big on them signs. Some of them didn't go right, signs was wrong. Planting potatoes a certain sign, corn a certain sign. Farmer's almanac's what you went by. There he says the evil and adulterous generation looks for a sign, and he says, but you're only going to get one sign, that's the sign of Jonah. And we're going to talk about Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days, and the fish spit him out. Jesus was in the grave for parts of 3 days, and God brought him out.
That was a miracle, right?
That was a miracle, yes. Well, both of them were a miracle in that Jonah survived 3 days in the belly of a fish without being digested. And the others is that Jesus, after they, those who do not believe in the Bible, they talk about, well, he just passed out, or he really would. Believe me, folks, the Romans knew how to make sure you were dead. In fact, the Roman soldiers, if that was their duty, was to make sure someone was dead, they didn't dare make a mistake because their lives was in danger. Just like when the Philippian jailer, when the earthquake hit, and all of the chains and doors all came open, and he thought everybody's escaped, and I can kill myself a lot quicker than the Romans can, and it won't be near as painful. And he was about to kill himself. All stopped him, because that was a penalty. When the soldiers who were guarding the tomb, when they told the Jewish hierarchy what happened, they said, well, you say this. That we was asleep and somebody came and said, well, that was a no-no there. But said, if this news comes to the governor, we'll be sure that no harm will come to you, because they knew what would happen. They didn't want to tell anybody they went to sleep, because they had guards who sat there that take turns. They're supposed to watch it 24 hours a day. I mean, it was a death penalty to let someone escape or to not keep up with whatever you've been charged to do. But the Romans definitely knew how to make sure someone was dead. In fact, they broke the legs of the two criminals to make sure that they died quicker. But they was pretty sure Jesus was dead, so they just stabbed him with a spear just to be sure. Stabbed him up in his side and make sure the blood and water came out. But this was the sign. 3 days in the grave. Verse 5, and the disciples came to the other side of the sea, but they had forgotten to bring any bread. And we kind of talked about this last week about, Leland reckon Jesus rolled his eyes at time to time about it. And we brought this up because so they forgot to take any bread. And Jesus said to them, watch out and beware of the leaves of the leaven, of the Pharisees and Sadducees. They began to discuss this among themselves, saying, he said that because we did not bring any bread. Like that, I'm sure this is one of my rolling things. Because he said, do you not understand or remember? Well, I missed the verse. Verse 8. But Jesus, aware of this, said, you men of little faith, why do you discuss among yourselves that you have no bread? Do you not yet understand or remember? The 5 loaves of the 5,000, and how many baskets full you picked up? Or the 7 loaves of the 4,000, and how many large baskets you picked up? And how many, we lost place. How many large baskets you picked up? How is it that you do not understand that I did not speak to you concerning bread, but beware the leaven of the Pharisees and leaven of bread, but the teaching of the Pharisees and the Sadducees? They just couldn't get over the something to eat. Don't you remember? We fed 5,000 people with just a little bit of bread and fish. We fed 4,000 people with just a little bit of bread and fish. And look at all the scraps we picked up. And you're worried about taking enough bread for 12 guys. So then don't you understand? I'm talking about the teachings of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And that's something we need to be careful about, because you can hear all kinds of teachings. Some of it in the church every once in a while. Somebody does, Tim Smith used to say, somebody get off in the weeds. There's lots of people in the weeds. And, you don't believe, just turn on some of these different programs that you can find on the television or the radio. And you can hear almost any kind of doctrine you'd ever imagine. Some of them you can't, where did they come up with that at? And they make it sound pretty good. Why do they get away with it, Leland? Or how do they get away with it?
Itchy ears.
Itching ears, okay.
People don't look for themselves.
Do what?
Go ahead.
What do you say, Olivia?
People don't read books.
They don't read the Bible. They don't know what's in it, do they?
My people perish for lack of knowledge.
People perish for lack of knowledge. They don't know what's in the book. It sounds good. But is it true? Is it what the book says?
But we're taught from a young age to listen to the elders and what they say.
Yeah.
So we just did.
Just accept it, but we need to, sometimes the elders, they get off in the weeds too. It kind of come home to me, here a few years ago, Becky and I went to see the Ark. It's in Kentucky somewhere, Whitburg. Anyway, we was outside reading some of the stuff before we went in, and there was a sign there, and it was something about it named Noah's wife, a name. A certain diner had her name on it, to eat and on the inside. And I told Becky, I said, it doesn't call her by name in the book. And there was a couple standing there, and and then the one said, I watched the movie, but I don't remember if they called her by name or not. That's all that this lady knew was what she saw in the movie. She had no idea what the book really said. It doesn't name any, it names Noah and his sons, that's all it names. But now, I'm not trying to discourage you from going to see it, because it's mind-boggling at the size of it. If the size of a cubit, we think of the size of a cubit today, it's the same thing that God had Noah build the boat out of. It's huge. They went a little bit overboard trying to convince you that the dinosaurs were here, but other than that, but the rest of it was just amazing. What it could have been, because we know how many levels it had in it, and Noah built it, and the sons, and God shut the door, and they stayed in it, and they stayed alive. But as far as all the other details about, did they keep them in little cages to do this, do that, we don't know. It didn't say.
Did they have the windows right?
I don't remember about the windows. I remember the door was not like I pictured it to be.
Or the window?
The window.
Seriously, I don't remember when.
Yeah, I don't remember a window on any part we went to. Of course, it was supposed to be on top. The door opened sideways instead of letting down, and that's all the old pictures we had when we was kids. The door let down like a ramp, but everybody walked up in it, and God was supposed to shut the door. And so that wasn't like I thought it. And they may have had it right. I don't know, because it doesn't say. It just said it had a quick, big door, and God shut the door.
Did it say on there what Noah's wife said when the ark was stopped on dry ground? Did it have that part in there?
No, I think so.
She said, nobody's leaving here till this mess is cleaned up.
I knew you had something with that.
That might just, I might have added that. Just,
I mean, see, now that's what we're talking about. That sounded pretty good, but it's not in there.
I read it somewhere.
You read it somewhere. If
makes sense, don't it?
if it's on the internet, it's got to be true. And then what everybody thinks,
Well, if she was a mama.
Yeah, she was a mama. That's probably been a good statement for her to make.
I've heard it a few times.
You've heard that a few times, Verse 13. Now when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he was asking his disciples, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" And they said, some say John the Baptist, and others Elijah, but still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus said to him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, because flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. I also say to you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overpower it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound, have been bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall have been loosed in heaven." Then he warned the disciples that they should tell no one that he was the Christ. So he asked them the question, who do people say that I am? Who am I? Who am I supposed to be?
Had to be somebody pretty important because of the things he did.
Yeah. Who am I supposed to be? Well, some people says you're John the Baptist. Of course, John the Baptist is dead.
Some people says he was Beelzebub.
Some people said he Beelzebub, didn't he? But see, the disciples, some of them, see, all these guys they mentioned here have passed away.
Wasn't Elijah one on the Mount of Transfiguration?
Yes, I don't think we've got there before, have we?
No, but Peter, James, and John.
Yeah, Elijah and Moses were on the Mount of Transfiguration. But see, they mentioned all these guys. These guys had all done passed away a long time ago. Well, John the Baptist, not so far. So some people say you're John the Baptist. Some people say you're Elijah. Some people say you're Jeremiah or one other. In other words, all these guys would have to come back from the dead. So Jesus, well, just who do you say I am? Peter said, you're the Christ, the Son of God. He said, upon this rock. He said, you're Peter, and upon this rock, upon this, not geographical rock, but upon this statement, I'll build my church. And I'm going to give you the keys. Whatever you bind on earth be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth be loosed in heaven. I'm going to give you the keys. Has Peter used the keys yet?
Not at that point.
No, I mean, for us today.
The Bible should give you
He used them on the day of Pentecost.
Use them on the day of Pentecost. You know, there's a really bad misconception among lots of folks that when you pass away and you get to the gates of heaven, that Peter's sitting there with the keys and he lets you in or deny you. Peter's already used them keys. The kingdom of heaven started in the day of Pentecost, and what we say today is around AD 33. That's when Peter used the keys. He preached. His sermon is the first recorded sermon after Christ's death. And that day, how many people were added to the church? About 3,000 people. The keys of the kingdom were used then. He opened the doors. And it's been open ever since. You just have to accept Christ and his rules, if you will. Things he's set up for us to do to get in, and then the door is open. He allows us to come in. It's a misconception to say that Peter's at the gates of heaven and with the key to let you in or out. He's already used those keys today. Do what? Yeah, the pearly gate. Yeah, that's what it is.
That's what the
So
cartoon shows.
Peter at the pearly gates. Back to if you, I read a lot of editorial cartoons. You know, that somebody important dies or somebody that's a pretty good fellow dies. That'll be the next day or two. There'll be a picture of him and Peter at the gates of heaven with the keys to let it welcome you on in. You know. So it's a great misconception. But Judy, it sounds good, doesn't it? But that's not what it says. That's how they get so many things get started. So many people follow this guy over here, this guy over here, because it really sounds good. But as Olivia said, they don't know what's in the book.
But there's usually a piece of truth.
There's just a little bit of truth. It sounds like it ought to be true, but it's not.
Going back to the leaven and bread, it just takes a small amount of leaven to permeate the whole loaf.
Yes.
So it just takes a little bit of mistruth to foul up the whole truth.
That's right. It's just now I'm not a cook, but yeast, what we call yeast today, or leaven, doesn't take very much. You make a little dough get great big one. Now I'm an expert on eating bread, but I'm not an expert on cooking bread.
Verse 19 is the one that fascinates me, Virgil. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven.
Okay?
All the time that Jesus has chastised Peter, as he has expressed his frustration with the 12, as he continues to have to tell them, I'm going to Jerusalem to die. I'm going to Jerusalem to die. I'm going to be raised. I'm going to be raised. And they're missing the whole boat. And here Jesus is saying, when that time comes, whatever you say, the way it is, it's going to be the way it is.
Yeah.
So that's a faith faith that Jesus has placed in these 11.
Of course, you gotta also remember, Leland, that they are going to be assisted by the Holy Spirit. So the things that they don't understand at this point, the Holy Spirit's going to allow them to understand.
But he doesn't give them blanket understanding.
No, it doesn't. No, you're right. Yeah.
You know, I guess that understanding comes as they need it.
Yeah. Go ahead. Of course, as you mentioned in verse 21, it says, from that time Jesus began to show his disciples he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised on the third day. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, God forbid it, Lord, this shall never happen to you. Now, this is what you're talking about. What is Peter and everybody else looking for in the Messiah? An earthly king.
King David.
King David. They're going to have a kingdom after David that'll last forever. You can't fault Peter. You can't fault the disciples become apostles. Everybody missed the boat as far as what the Messiah was going to do. And, you know, we talked about this before. This is what made it Jesus so hard to accept by those who were in authority as far as the Jewish people was concerned, because they were looking for an earthly king, and an earthly king is not born in a barn. An earthly king is born in a palace. An earthly king's got lots of money, he got lots of guards, he got lots of entourage, you know, people that's waiting on him hand and foot.
Doesn't come from Nazareth.
Nothing good comes out of Nazareth. So he is everything that they thought a king couldn't come from. So that's one of the reasons that they missed the boat. Besides that they're looking, you know, they just had it in their mind all this time, it's going to be an earthly king. He said, but he turned and said to Peter, get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, but for you are not, setting your mind on God's interest but man's. Then Jesus said to his disciples, if anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Whosoever wishes to save his life will lose it. Whosoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what would it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeits his soul? For what will a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and will then repay every man according to his deeds. Truly I say to you, there are some of those who are standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom.
So his kingdom has to be the church, huh?
His kingdom is church, yes. It's like our time is up to the wild ones coming in, so we'll just